If I was to ask you before chapter 1181 if Imu had a sympathetic backstory, or at the very least he wasn't just some evil bad guy for the sake of it, you would most likely tell me to never cook again, that I'm on something, that I'm just don't know what I'm talking about. But what if I told you that everybody, including me and you, should give Imu the benefit of the doubt, as we have all been looking at Joyboy and Imu's dynamic and the entire Void Century War through the wrong lens. This is not a simple story as Joyboy good and Imu bad, because Oda is cooking up something far more complex and far more nuanced here. Either Imu is actually straight up delusional, or he is actually right, and both outcomes are extremely disturbing because of the person Imu is today, regardless if he was right or not, because he forged a culture of slavery and oppression within the Holy Land that such a horrible human being, if he is a human being, could actually be in the right, or at least is delusional enough to think he's in the right, is extremely dark and disturbing. Now, any long viewer of my channel knows that I have been pushing the agenda that Imu has a sympathetic backstory, even going as far as saying that Imu was a pirate during the Void Century. And at first that might seem like a crackpot theory. To be honest, I didn't even take the theory that seriously, I only half believed it. But this recent chapter may have proved my theory correct, considering Joyboy, the first pirate, is shown to be friends with Imu, and ever since chapter 1179 and even further back, to be honest with you, Imu has been acting like the underdog protagonist, literally climbing a massive wall called Fate, the fate of the will of D. And today we will be doing a deep dive into the Delusion of Imu, the Delusion of Imu's main character syndrome and his past with Joyboy. But before I get into that, by becoming a channel member, you can gain access to some absolutely insane perks. By becoming a Bratier Elite member at just £1.99 a month, I can make any video based on your own request, within reason of course, and even talk about other anime as well, such as Dragon Ball, Naruto, Bleach, and many other anime that only members can actually access these kind of videos. You will also get your name credited at the end of every video, and one step further at Brat A VIP level, you get to see extended cuts, a part 2 to every video, a sequel that didn't make it into the free version with extra analysis and extra theories at just £3.99 a month. No pressure of course, you don't have to join, simply liking and commenting is already more than enough support and is greatly appreciated. Anyway, let's start with the juicy stuff, Imu and Joyboy. For the longest time, we all assumed that Imu and Joyboy were the complete enemies, but it seems like it's the total opposite. It was Joyboy who betrayed Imu, and it seems to me that they both share the exact same ideology of dominion, and it was Joyboy who broke Imu's trust here, because this type of reaction, it only comes from something far deeper than the usual good versus evil. No, this conflict, this emotion, this feels personal. Joyboy hurt Imu on a deep emotional level, portraying Imu in a very sympathetic light. And the thing that I have been stressing for so long is that Imu has been acting this way since the final saga began, not just in 1181. This is nothing new. People, you should not be surprised. This has been all over the final saga. Joyboy may not be the saint that we think he is, because betrayal is a very common theme in One Piece. We have Kanjuro, York, Corazon, and the list goes on and on and on. This panel of Imu screaming, it may seem exaggerated and funny at first, but the more exaggerated and the more over the top a drawing is, the more emotion and story behind that drawing. I mean, when Ace died, look at how big Oda drew Luffy's mouth. Look at how big Oda drew Luffy's mouth when Sanji left the crew. The stronger the pain, the more exaggerated the emotion, and Imu's emotion is very exaggerated here, suggesting that Joyboy caused a very deep emotional pain to Imu. Just look at how Imu carried himself in chapter 1179, from his interactions with the Gorosei, to his speech about fate, to his resolve to put his life on the line. Imu genuinely felt like a main character here. And remember my crackpot theory about Imu being a pirate? Well, Imu and the Gorosei genuinely felt like Luffy and the Straw Hats here, like their own pirate crew. Imu talking about how the past keeps repeating itself, and then like a shonen protagonist, he challenges fate. He wants to defy the odds. How long will he make Mu suffer? again with that victim mindset. Imu wholeheartedly believes that he's the good guy here. He even gives the whole typical shonen main character line, I entrust the Holy Land onto thy hands. And then you've got the Gorosei all begging him not to go, and Venus Juro and Garland basically saying, deal with it. This kind of reminds me of everyone begging Usopp not to leave the crew, and Zoro being the one to step up and remind them all that this is what it means to be a captain. We are not playing pirates anymore. You can't allow disrespect on the crew. And bro, just look at the pain. Just look at the pain in Mars's eyes. Like, come on, they love Imu. They care about Imu. Poor Imu. The entire build up to his grand arrival, the bleeding, the coughing, the screaming, the resolve to put his life on the line against those who have made him suffer the will of D. Imu felt like a tragic and sympathetic character just with his arrival. Alright, look, either Imu is straight up delusional and won't accept that he is actually in the wrong and he has convinced himself, or Imu is actually genuinely right and that Joyboy did him wrong. Not only that, but that Davy Jones also did him wrong. More on him later. And he was actually right when he said that Davy Jones was never the king and that he needed to be usurped. Because after all, remember what Dr. Vegapunk actually said about Imu directly. I will not apply the labels of good and evil at all, because I understand way too little about him to begin with. This is not just Vegapunk theorizing. This is literally Oda giving us a hint, communicating with the readers through these characters. There is intention behind these lines. He is telling us that it's not as black and white as simply Imu bad and Joyboy good. Like, no, One Piece is a story with heavy emphasis on truth versus perception. We got Zoro, Loki, Rox, Odin, Viper, Vivi, Nami. All these characters were portrayed as evil until we found out the truth about them. And I would not be surprised if Oda flipped this narrative device he uses and instead subverts our expectations of the good guy. We think Joyboy is a good guy, but actually he is not a good guy. He's a flipping liar, a traitor. And do you know who else seemed to really traumatize poor Imu to an even greater extent than his bestie Joyboy? Davy Jones! Look at how Imu reacts here. This is how a crazy ex would react when hearing the name of the ex-lover. It's quite the insane reaction. And just like with my Dr. Vegapunk point, Oda didn't just write this line. There is some element of truth to this, that Davy was never the true king. I talked about this in these two videos, why Imu was a pirate and what if Imu was right, that Davy Jones kept all the advanced technology of the ancient kingdom for himself and did not share them with the other nations, because why do nations like Dressrosa during the Void Century, during a time of advanced technology, why were they still relying on slavery to do labour? That literally makes no sense. It's as if the ancient kingdom hogged and kept all that technology for himself. The ancient kingdom was an advanced kingdom, right? And do you know who else was advanced? The people on the moon. Those people on the moon came down to earth because they lacked resources. And what did they do when the people of Shandora and their island flew up to the sky? Guess what they did? They literally took over that land because they wanted those resources. So in a way, that whole event could be foreshadowing what happened during the Void Century. Nico Robin mentioned how Davy Jones was cursed to roam the sea floor, just like Zunisha is cursed to walk the earth. So what crime did Davy Jones commit so that he was cursed to roam the seas? What if both Davy Jones and Zunisha did a horrible crime to Imu? I think this line definitely proves that Davy Jones did something evil during the Void Century, because why else would he be cursed? And when we look at the Davy clan, we have Rox, who is rough around the edges. Then we've got Blackbeard, who we don't really need explaining. He's pretty self-explanatory. Imu was most likely a victim of Davy Jones's greed. His greed for wealth, fame and power. See what I did there? And maybe this is how Imu got Maki. He craved power. He craved that power through corruption and giving your will to a covenant. He wanted to overthrow the king who had wealth, fame and power. And it's funny because when Imu gives a speech about Maki dwelling in all things, how you need to crave power, it sounds very much like the wealth, fame and power speech from Roger. But when we take a look at this line, the world itself rejoices when in a state of dominion. Isn't that right, Joyboy? It's suggesting that Joyboy also believed in the ideology of dominion, and perhaps Joyboy also hated Davy Jones for the evil king that he was, just like how Luffy fought to liberate other nations for the sake of one person. Perhaps Joyboy wanted to liberate Imu's nation of poverty, but betrayed Imu in the last minute. And you know what? A betrayal from Joyboy would not be surprising, not in the least, because you know who else has already betrayed Imu and was part of the will of D? Nefertari D. Lily. What I find quite human and very underrated about Imu is how much hope and cope he had for Lily, even whilst acknowledging Lily's blunder as that, a blunder, a crime that prolonged this 800-year-long war. Imu still hoped that deep down that it was only a mistake and not intentional, and when he found out that she was a D, basically confirming that she was on Joyboy's side, and that this was intentional. He felt so much rage and pain and took it out on her descendant, Cobra. And even after finding out that he was betrayed by Lily, Imu still has a picture of Lily on his wall, suggesting that Imu quite literally loves Lily unconditionally, maybe as a romantic partner or a friend, but it doesn't matter. It still proves to us that Imu is far more complex, tragic and deeper than we can ever realize. Are you seeing a pattern here amongst Joyboy's companions? You got Zunisha who made a mistake, you got Emma who apologizes to Joyboy, you got Joyboy himself who broke a promise to Poseidon, you got Lily who made a blunder. Come on, there's so much foreshadowing that Joyboy probably did something to Imu here, especially after this chapter. And if you're still not buying this whole Imu is a tragic figure idea, then I'm sure that you would agree that Doflamingo is a parallel to Imu himself. They are both celestial dragons, they both control enemies like puppets to do their bidding, they both rule over a group of people under a false utopia where everyone believes that they are the good guys. They both have loyal subordinates where one had betrayed them, Lily and Corazon. They both have wiped away any history that inconveniences them, Imu with the voice entry and Doflamingo using Sugar's power. Heck, Doflamingo literally wants to become Imu himself and rule the world. He said that he wanted the oppresion so that he can make full use of the secret treasure of the Holy Land and rule the world, just like Imu who is ruling the world right now. And Ivankov literally said that Imu is the recipient of the oppresion, the fruit that Doflamingo wants. And guess what? Doflamingo has a sad backstory, and Imu, being the final evolution of Doflamingo, most likely has one as well. So overall, Imu was a poverty-ridden man who desired great power, which is how he got Maki. Joyboy was most likely his first friend and his right-hand man, but Joyboy betrayed him for the man that he hated and was the source of his poverty, Davy Jones. And somewhere along the way, Imu formed a romantic connection with Lily, but Lily betrayed him for the men that he hated, Joyboy and Davy Jones, and then took the name of D, which led to Imu spiraling into the man that he is today. But if you want to hear my extended thoughts, consider becoming a Bratty A VIP member, where I talk about this chapter with extra analysis, thoughts and theories. And shout out to my VIP members, Cats Ate My Family and Uso T More. Thank you for your great support, and if you enjoyed this video then you'll love this one as well, and I will see you there.